let's get to this. This is
I recognize Dan Bonamy.
The video from up north.
I'd like to make a motion that the first district vote whether they support the Michigan GOP Chair Christina Caramo or Pete Hoekstra.
I second.
Can you guys hear it okay?
I would ask that vote be taken by those that support Pete Hoekstra, stand with their credentials. Is that acceptable?
We have a vote and we have a second on the floor to show support. Okay, we have a support there. Mr. Hitt. All right, Louis Hitt. So, is there any discussion on this motion?
Yes.
Microphone, Matt, microphone, please.
Leave it there. I would like
No, we want to say it.
I would like to explain to us exactly why they're trying to get rid of Christina and why they're trying to steal the money from the GOP.
Trying to steal the money from the GOP.
You can't steal what you don't have.
Right.
All right. I have no idea who that woman is, but she is kind of like the one that's like, I don't know how to describe her. Like the most enthusiastic person at the cult meeting or something.
Yeah.
She's like, tell them about this, tell them about that. And anyway, all right, let's see what they have to say. So now there was a motion on the floor, but now Dan Bonamy has been invited to just go off on a rant. So here we go. Here, what Dan Bonamy has to say.
Dan, that question is to you.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to shorten this up, but I'm going to hit some facts because otherwise we'll be here after dinner. But to start out, the attempts to remove her started before she was even elected.
Taylor says that was Rendon. No, Dare Rendon is the one in the blue hat on the right side of the camera. I'm talking about the lady in the wheelchair on the left side. But anyway.
I was in the hotel the night before the election, and J.D. Glazer had already worked with Matt DePerno and everybody else to team up. They did not want Christina to be the chair. Whoever was removed, they had a team, they had flyers built, and if you were there, you noticed as soon as one of them was picked, the others were already handing out their brochures and supporting. This was a full attempt to remove her before she was even there and to take that vote. Once that was done, they were claiming within 120 days, that night, they claimed within 120 days they were going to have a vote of no confidence for her. They were going to remove her. So we fast forward a few months. Mackinac.
Okay, I'll pause it there because he's now that's his setting the table there. I don't know if any of that's true. I don't know, Todd or Tim, if you've heard anything about this, if there was any movement to remove Christina the day she got elected.
I never heard anything.
I never heard that either, but I know on our very first state committee meeting, I think it was they were trying to get us to sign up a loyalty to Christina petition or document. The very first state committee meeting.
Wow.
You know, and those campaigns, I mean, you know, as many people as there were running for chair, you know, it makes perfect sense that if, you know, some of those guys, if they did any, you know, kind of whipping the vote, I mean, they knew that they were the lower tier of candidates in terms of support. And so, you know, several of them knew they probably wouldn't make it through the first round of voting, you know, so that's pretty typical to do some horse trading, you know, and get things set up for who I'm going to support. If I don't make it through. So it wasn't an attempt to get rid of Christina. Nobody really knew her that well at that point in time. I mean, you know, there were a lot of people that supported her that don't now, because now we know who she is and what she's capable of doing, or maybe more like what she's not capable of doing. But that type of stuff is pretty typical of those sorts of campaigns in the beginning.
You know, it's funny that Bonamy's talking like he knows this stuff. It's funny because back in January, before the 20th meeting, I got a phone call from an unnamed individual. I know who called me, but I'm not going to name her name. Called me from his district, telling me that at that meeting that we had in Lansing, where the majority of the budget committee met and we had a working thing, and that's where Kopis came in. He was bragging to people that he stayed for 2 hours after that meeting was over and talked with Hartman, Kopis, and Christina for like 2-3 hours after the meeting was over, and we're all gone. And he was bragging about that. Well, 2 days after that meeting, Matt Johnson, our budget chair, is fired. He gets the job, covers for her ass for the next 7 or 8 months, and then gets to play like he's the co-chair for a couple weeks before he's kicked to the curb. So I'm pretty sure he was doing some backdoor dealing way before he became budget chair. That's why he became budget chair. That's what it appears to be. Speculation, of course, it always is. But he covered for her and all her inabilities to the point of where it was ridiculous. He was a good budget chair in the sense that he ran a decent meeting. He was a terrible budget chair in the fact that he never held them. He acted more like administration than he did like a state committee member trying to hold the administration accountable. And that he failed at that.
Yeah, the other thing too is, I mean, I think there's to a large extent, I think this is obviously just narrative crafting, and let's just make allegations that can't be proven or disproven. Oh yeah, they're out to get Christina from day one. The other thing too, I'd point out is, I remember there was an effort to attack Ron Weiser from day one, and the guy behind that was C.J. Richard, who was, by his own admission, supporting Laura Cox when she lost her bid for re-election to Ron Weiser, and he never let up on that. That went on and on. So the press like, yeah, it's just normal. That's just what people do. And I've always said, yes, there's always institutional opposition when you have a contest for power within a party, but to the extent that he's claiming, yeah, there was always going to be this effort to remove Christina. No, the reason why this effort came about was because after months and months of non-performance and all kinds of other problems she was causing, people just, said, okay, enough is enough. All right, let's keep going.
That has been told that it was canceled, the contracts weren't in place. I was budget chair. Everything was in place for that. She had people within her command below her as her assistants that worked against her and then quit or were fired and then started putting out those nasty messages and started working with Warren Carpenter along with others to discredit that. At that time, we moved forward, and it was a very successful convention on Mackinac Island. We had very good speakers. It wasn't just the candidates there to blow up, whatever. So we ended up having a great time there on the island. It was the best, as far as I'm concerned, ever. The reports that I had why people didn't want to attend that was because it was nothing but a drunk fest and parties.
All right. Now, I did not go to the Mackinac conference this year. I don't know if any of you, if you guys did. What did you say about Dan's description? Was this the greatest Mackinac conference of all time?
It's pretty quiet. I don't know. I went to see Zuby, but I felt like I was the only person that knew who he was. I mean, he's super cool. Everybody should know him, but I was like,
who Zuby is.
Yeah, I know you do, but I felt like a lot of people there were like, who is this guy?
I didn't know who he was.
You didn't know?
No, I had no idea.
Oh, he's awesome. Just look up does he still hold the English woman's deadlifting record?
Yeah. Yeah, Zuby's this online personality who I think he's a British black guy who was raised in an expat camp in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And he kind of got internet famous for competing in the women's deadlifting by announcing one day that he was a woman, getting the record, and then 1 hour later announcing, no, actually, I'm a dude.
I think he broke the bench press record that day as well as a woman for 5 minutes. So it's just he's very well spoken. I mean, he's a phenomenal speaker, but I can't imagine he was cheap.
Well,
I was happy to see him.
One thing Bonamy said there is, yeah, we had everything paid for. I was a budget chair, and everything was done. I'm like, it's nice that he knew that, because there wasn't a single other one of us on the budget committee that saw any contracts for anything on Mackinac. In fact, the only contract that we did see was after Mackinac, and it was the contract to pay for Jim Caviezel, which we were told was a donation. So I don't know, maybe Bonamy has, some.
We saw that in December and it was signed in August.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That was the only contract we saw, and it was way after the fact. So, Bonamy must have, some secret handshake club that he's a part of where he can see stuff that all of the rest of the budget committee can't.
Was he the budget chair during Mackinac?
He was, yep.
Okay, I wasn't sure when he took that over.
John Smith says 27 people attended. I assume that's in reference to Zuby. Is that right? Is that
No,
right, Steph?
no, it wasn't. I thought it was decently full for
Yeah,
him.
it was decent. I listened to him, not knowing who he was, and yeah, he was entertaining.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Holly
you
says,
know, if
didn't
you
we pay
don't have a lot of,
$50,000 for speakers who
yeah, we
didn't
did
come?
pay for speakers that didn't come, and if you don't have a
Yep.
lot of money, I was just shocked that such a major personality, you were bringing in these major personalities when we all knew the party didn't have enough money. Even I, as a kind of just a member, knew that.
Yeah. And the purpose of having speakers is to draw people to come to the event. Like, why would you? I mean, as you say, Zuby's great, but would he be somebody you would book for your speaker? Like, I've got to plan my Lincoln Day dinner. Would we book him for our Lincoln Day speaker? Probably not. Probably wouldn't pick somebody that people haven't heard of.
Yeah, just depends on your audience. And yeah, I don't see that audience like listening to podcasts all the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely if I
Don
was doing a
says,
youth event, he might be really cool,
maybe. I don't mean, who knows? Who's to say? I don't know how popular he is among young people. I asked our local college Republicans who they listen to on the internet, and they named a couple of names I've never heard of. So I think I think we probably need to get closer relations with our college Republicans. Anyway, Don Beatty says we were on track to the greatest Mackinac Island conference in the history of conservative conferences with Lois at the helm. I don't know who that is. And then they fired her, and it ended up being the worst Mackinac conference ever. I don't know if I assume it was going to be the greatest ever, but anyway, she says it didn't help. They wouldn't give her any money, refused to call the big money donors that have donated in the past, and shot down every phenomenal rock star patriot in the movement. So there you go. I don't know what you guys all think about that. I would point out, like in past Mackinac conferences, the big draws were the presidential candidates.
Yeah.
Because they would get their supporters to come to vote for them in the straw poll.
Yeah,
that just didn't happen.
100%.
So I was talking to Ali and Hassan shortly after Mackinac, and they were originally tasked with getting all of these presidential candidates and speakers in, and they were, according to them, they were on track to bring these guys on, and they're paying their own way, and they're throwing the parties, and they were removed from being involved in that, and Christina took it back and gave it to her lackeys to run. And we ended up with what we had. So the candidates were in negotiations to be there, and then it all went away.
Yeah,
that's insane to me because there were so many interesting personalities in that race. I would have gone to see Ron DeSantis. I would have gone to see Vic. I would have gone. They could have got Trump. That would have been amazing. But there was a lot of interesting people, and Nikki Haley. No, I'm just kidding.
I know they got Trump in 2016.
Yeah.
Or 2015, whatever it was. Anyway. All right. Let's Don says, well, we had Lee Greenwood who offered to sing God Bless the USA, a country concert with John Rich and Blake Shelton, Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and others. If those people were all booked and it fell through, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a travesty.
All right, let's let Dan continue here.
That was far from what it was this year. There were a few parties downtown. They ended early, and people were there early to be at the convention the next day. This was not supported by the big money donors. This was not supported by majority of presidential candidates, congressional candidates, senators. None of them showed. That was because it was a grassroots movement, and they are all on the other side of that. There were a few, and they do support us in this room. So that did bring $32,000 profit. After all of that, they had every bit of negative publicity from, you name it, every paper and news agency across the country. Next thing is they started saying we used funding wrong. That didn't happen. They didn't even know. In the past, the budget committee had to sign NDAs and they couldn't talk outside. Christina brought, and with Jennifer, I don't know if Jennifer's still in here, Jennifer Stanifer, as the treasurer, brought statements to every single meeting that she...
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Old-faced lie.
Really?
That is a lie.
Interesting.
They brought spreadsheets printed out of their accounting software. I think they brought statements, one time, Todd?
Twice, in August and September.
And they weren't for all of the accounts either.
No, they were just for the West Michigan accounts.
Yeah, flat out lie.
Amazing. All right, and by the way, folks, feel free to,
spreadsheets are great. I mean, I can make myself look like Jeff Bezos if you give me an Excel spreadsheet in a couple hours.
Right.
All right, and Steph, Todd, and Tim, anytime, tell me to pause it if you need me to.
Okay.
Some of you guys were here in January when I took and did about 30 slides showing everywhere every dollar went, pretty much to the GOP, in large categories, of course, but it showed everything. That has never been done in the past. They scream transparency.
How would he know this? How would he know that's never been done in the past, that the budget committee never had access to any financial records before?
Probably got it from Karama, who is like, all seeing, all knowing. She's in their mind, she's more important than God, because not even God can remove her from the state party chair.
Apparently so. All right, here we go.
We want inclusivity. She could have easily used the bylaws and thrown those people out. As the chair, she had the right to remove them from committee. She didn't. She kept every person on there that she could. She wanted all voices.
So stop that for a second, Adam.
Yeah.
So the day after
I'll stop it right
Thanksgiving,
there.
yeah. So first of all, we already talked about she got rid of Matt Johnson in the 1st of July, and that's because Matt was pushing back, asking some tough questions, because we got no answers to nothing. On April 15th, the first state committee meeting, we had our first budget committee meeting, and they couldn't answer questions that we were asking. And so less than 2 months later, Matt's gone, or 2 months later, Matt's gone. And then the day after Thanksgiving, she gets rid of Andy Seabolt, the policy chair. She gets rid of the conflict resolution committee, the whole committee. For him to say she could have used the bylaws to get rid of people, but she never did. She kept them all in. I don't know where he's, what universe he's in. It's a different one than
like provably false.
Yeah.
Wasn't Jennifer stand-up for like the third treasurer for the state party?
She
Yes.
was. So Matt Johnson was an interim treasurer from when Christina was elected until April 15th. And then Marcus Cairns started on April 15th. And I don't know, sometime in July or August, he resigned. And then Standifer came in.
Yeah. John Smith says, by the way, Pete's communication is already 100% better. Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's continue.
As you move forward, a couple things happened in December. Some guy named Dan Bonamy came along. And he started putting out that we...
In December, Dan Bonamy came along. Is that right? Is that what he said? In
Now he's
December,
gonna
I
take
came
credit
on the
for
scene.
Yeah. Now he's going to take credit for the whole closed caucus idea.
No, they're running from that.
Listen to him.
Oh no!
All right, here we go.
Did it come back?
It did.
Oh,
All right, well,
boy.
here we go. Let's continue.
needed better political representation. We were looking at closed primaries. We were looking at caucuses.
Okay.
As soon as that
Stop there
happened,
for a second.
every elected official.
Yeah, this is where they're talking about looking at
Yeah.
closed primaries and closed caucuses.
Yeah, so he didn't say closed caucuses right there. He said, closed primaries and caucuses, but that is total misinformation because they weren't talking about closed primaries, which is exactly what we've been talking about on this show with this being Super Tuesday, how you see the difference in closed primaries or not. That's not what they're talking at all. They're talking closed.
They might have looked at it for 2 seconds and been like, okay, we can't do this because it involves changing the law. So
right.
Let's look at just ending the primaries and we decide who gets to be nominee.
Yep.
Are those even closed caucuses, or are those like something completely different?
Well, I mean, it's a word it's a term they've made up to talk about it. It's not a term I would ever use because, like, the word caucus is one of the most ambiguous words in politics, and people don't know what it means. I mean, I've been involved for long enough now that I kind of do, but what they're talking about is basically just having no primary and going straight to convention and having convention delegates nominate the way we do for Attorney General and Secretary of State, but to do that for local races, which is completely unprecedented and bizarre and insanely stupid. But we've talked about this before on another broadcast. But I mean, the gist of it is they believe that. Well, here's what I think they believe. I think they believe that because the precinct delegates who indirectly put them into power by choosing the state delegates, therefore, if they go to a system where the precinct delegates and to some degree delegated to state delegates nominate, that will resonate with their own personal voting base, right? They're saying we, the delegates, are smarter than the general population are. because we filled out this piece of paper and ran unopposed for precinct
Got
delegate,
a
and now we
notary
get to
to
be
sign
precinct
it.
delegate. So, but it's appealing to these people, because they're looking for an easy way. They're looking for, hey, the reason why Sherry O'Donnell is not a viable candidate and Mike Rogers is because he can raise the money from Washington and she can't. And that's a persuasive talking point. It genuinely is. The flip side of that is, after the nomination process, you have to actually also be able to raise the money to win a general election, and Sherry O'Donnell would not be able to do that. Look, folks, I
I don't
promise
want
you,
Mike Rogers.
Vote for Mike Rogers. But there are other choices. Like, I don't know, Sandy Pensler could be financially competitive and may not be this deep state swamp rat that Mike Rogers is. But the point being, the reason why we have the system that we do is because you do actually have to win the election in November. And you have to be able to show that you can raise the resources to do it. I think with the Attorney General SOS, those are races where, like, well, the flip side of that is we don't want those candidates spending all of their money to win a primary and then have no money going into the general.
That does happen, yeah.
So, no system's perfect, but this system they're talking about, it's so seductive to these precinct delegates or whatever delegates these people call themselves. But it's not attractive to Republican primary voters, and their opinion's kind of important. So anyway.
The other piece of that, which makes it more nefarious, is if they were ever to pass that Constitution that they wanted to pass, then at some point in time, they're dictating who precinct delegates are, they're dictating who county parties are, they're dictating who county chairs are, and they would get to the point, just because that Constitution gives the chair and the general counsel the right to remove people at the county level for no reason if they decide to do it. So you could get to the point where everybody at the county level are effectively appointees by the state chair, and then they're electing every elected official from village council member through sheriff and up to state reps and senators. So you could get to the place where the party chair and the general counsel are responsible for every elected person. Well, maybe not elected, but everybody who's on the general election ballot, selected by two people.
Yeah.
What was the timeline for implementation on this plan?
Well, originally they were going to do it at next August, at the August convention. And then had they been in power last week, they moved it up and they were going to discuss it on Saturday. They changed the rules at their January meeting to include a state convention at the end of all the district caucuses. And one of the agenda items on that state convention agenda was going to be their Constitution, this better representation model that they call it.
And I tend to think
I heard.
Broad generalities about some of these things. So we're looking at a party that's mired in lawsuits. They have, multiple spokespeople and really no effective spokesperson. They have no money. They have a bunch of angry voters that they could mobilize in an election to get out and vote. And they want to massively overhaul the whole system. Where's the messaging on that? Who is going to tell the voters that? How are you going to pay to get that message out? And how are you going to deal with a hostile press that's going to spin it? This is not serious. Come on, people. That just shows I don't know. It just shows that I don't know if anybody really understands what's going on here, but you just can't do that kind of stuff in one foul swoop. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Did anyone consider any of those things?
They would have been better served if they would have talked about a closed primary.
Yes. And I think there are still people that think that might be what this is. I don't think the people there have any illusions, but I thought it was more of like a caucus when somebody presented it to me where, like Iowa or something, but I didn't realize
that's where it's so confusing. It's like, because Iowa's caucus it's not, and what they were talking about is just straight to convention, which as Todd pointed out, what that really means under their crazy rules that they wanted to pass was a dictatorship that only the people that Christina likes would even get a chance to vote. Real quick, some chats. Taylor says Trump 353, Bird Brain 43. I'm seeing Trump is now at 393 and Haley at 47, which means that Trump has gotten 124 delegates so far. Nikki Haley got 4 so far. So 120 to 4. Bad numbers there. Also, however, though, according to the New York Times, Haley is up in Vermont by 1.8 points. And they estimate she'll get to 3.2 by the end of the night. So Haley might actually win Vermont, which I prefer she didn't, but still, it's only Vermont. So who gives a crap? So that's your Super Tuesday update, folks. And
I'm guessing Vermont will be in the back of the convention in July.
Yeah,
and they'll be staying at the Motel 6.
Right.
Yeah. John King says Mike Rogers is a lot better than Alyssa Slotkin. I don't know if I agree with that, John. I think if this is our choice in November, it's FBI versus CIA. No, thank you. Yeah, Tim says Nikki may win Vermont. We'll see. Liberate Michigan on Rumble asks Dan and Jennifer where the reporting is on in-kind donations and fundraisers. Well, they're not on my panel tonight, but I think the answer to that question is there weren't any. So no fundraisers. So
They
weird.
supposedly had a fundraiser at Neil Frisky's farm, but none of that was accounted for anywhere.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I certainly hope our new finance chair, who, and by the way, I think his title really should be Auditor General. That'd be so much better. Hope our Auditor General gets to the bottom of those things. All right. Anyway, let's let this. Geez, we're barely a quarter into this. Let's keep going here.
Every person across that's out there running campaigns, the consultants, we're looking at taking $100 million out of pre-primary Republican world. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of gibberish.
What did they do? They sent attorneys, they sent people to investigate, they sent parliamentarians, and they started an NRCC and an RNC to remove Christina. These are your national committees trying to tell them who your chair is going to be. At that point in time,
I'm pretty sure this is a complete bald-faced lie. I don't think the NRC's too here.
We started we started to remove her. We started the petitions in November, way before he starts his BS right there.
Yeah, the RNC came in after the fact and just supported what we did, and the NRCC had nothing to do with it.
No, they're completely uninvolved. They're just completely lying. He's just completely lying. There's nothing else to it.
we also came across some major things. The NRCC sent $263,000 check.
Dan, can I beg your phones again? We have somebody with allergic reaction. Does anybody have any Benadryl?
We have an allergic reaction to somebody. We have Benadryl.
Thank you.
Allergic reaction to the truth.
$263,000 came in.
What he's saying?
That money was from NRCC. The next day they called and said, give that to Tom Barrett, Congressman Barrett. He's not even in a primary that's going to be an issue, so why would national money come in?
How stupid are you? How stupid is this guy? It's a prime seat for pickup. Of course they'd want money to be going for Tom Barrett. It's like, yeah, that by the way, to decode this, guys, that's their way of saying that we actually feel that the incumbents are pretty safe. We want to pick up the seat. That's what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
The NRCC told me that they were going to try and protect 3 seats and flip 1.
Yeah, that won't be Tom Barrett's seat.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, seat. Yeah, that's when we hope he wins.
Well, we had good success in 16, you know.
Huh?
There was a lot of success when Trump was top of the ticket, you know, and
That's
picking
right.
up seats normally. So,
all right, let's continue.
This was the McCarthy PAC that they had, that they sent the money from. We asked for the contracts because Ron Weiser.
This is also factually false at this point too, because Kevin McCarthy was already out by that point in December.
Right.
Taylor says Bonamy wanted some of the $100 million.
He'll take 10,000 though.
I mean, see, actually, he makes I don't know if it's a he or she. Taylor makes a valid point, which is that the whole scheme of this is if we end the primaries and instead the party chooses the nominees, then I guess this out-of-state money is going to come to us to influence these races, won't it?
Well, sure it will.
So, yeah. All right, let's continue.
They'll just be buying meals and stuff for local people that are voting in these closed caucuses.
Exactly.
However we wanted. Because if they dictated where that money went, it would violate campaign finance. Federal laws that are big no-nos. We rejected that. The budget committee, Christina brought it to us, and we all agreed this was not going to happen.
Bullshit.
The moment we said, we're not spending the money the way you want, they said, we're not sending you further funding. And per Warren Carpenter's reports and him on video, they sent 2 attorneys that day to help him remove her.
No, except they did. They're claiming the RNC was involved in that without evidence. Real quick, David Six Davis on Rumble says, yesterday in the 1st District Committee meeting, I got grilled on what happened in Grand Rapids. Then had to listen about how I wasted my time and that this S show was the only recognized caucus. Do you know anything about this, guys? Anyone know about this?
No.
Well, Dave's an alternate going to Milwaukee.
I mean,
we'll see which ones go to Milwaukee, but I think Dave's an alternate going to Milwaukee.
Okay. Yeah, this sounds like this might have been a meeting that was chaired by Dare Rendon, if I had to guess.
At the state committee meeting after the conventions on Saturday, Joel Studebaker and Ken Byer got up and tried to insert their delegates from the 1st and the 4th that were held off-site, and they were ruled out of order because the binding resolution with the RNC says that all of the conventions have to be in one location. And so, so whoever they voted on at the 1st at that Houghton Lake site, they're not going to be delegates. It'll be those that were elected in Grand Rapids.
Exactly. Yeah, John Smith says they were talking about Troy Cummins and John Lauterbach, what they were going for. Right, but can they show the RNC sent them? Because that was what his accusation was. I don't think they can. I don't think that's provable. Probably isn't even true. I think this was all. In fact, he cited Warren Carpenter. Yeah, Warren Carpenter was like, "I'm going to get the best attorney I possibly can with the most expertise to get involved in this."
That's how this happened. And I'm probably going to be removed today or next month from the state committee, so I want to make sure everybody knows why this is coming forward. Since then, they have continued with this minority of the party to try pushing votes. And they took and lied to people. They told them we were going to do this in a normal meeting. Some people signed that of the 54 signatures for her removal. Some signed it and sent letters. They were under duress. They were told different things. Some of them just wanted to come to a vote so it would be done. And sat behind
We've been over all this on previous shows. This is all complete bullshit.
Instead, they pulled some trickery, called a meeting for the 27th, canceled it, and then called it for January 6th. Nice day for an insurrection, huh? They picked that for a reason.
We never called it for the 27th. We requested it that Christina call it on the 27th. She never did.
Yep. You guys gave her the chance.
That's right.
Every single thing. What's the saying? Hoisted by her own retard? No, petard. Oh well.
Sue Aller, which was the chair of the 1st Congressional District, went down there. The rest of us boycotted it. We told her we didn't want proxies. She took people from the 1st District, put them in our place, and had them vote as us.
As was her right, because you didn't show up.
They didn't show
That's
up.
how these things happen. So I want you guys to know, Christina is there. She's working as hard as she could for us this whole time frame. This woman has worked 20-hour days with no pay other than in June. She took a couple weeks because the budget committee said she's supposed to get between, I believe it's the House, the head of the House and the governor's wage, something along those lines. So it's like between $120,000 and $190,000 pay range.
He's fucking clueless.
Yes.
Wow.
It's the minority leader and the governor, and it's from $100,000 to $139,000.
On YouTube, Lisa Lynn says there has to be some way to help these deceived people understand the truth of what is going on. Well, what I mean, there's no easy way, Lisa, but I think the answer is that in time,
You're right.
because what happens is the reason why you can't argue with these people is because they're emotionally invested in this idea, and that is like an iron shackle around your brain. But what will happen is over time, and things settling down and people actually realizing they care more about Trump and seeing other people who don't care about this issue anymore, then they'll move on. And maybe at some point then talking to them, that's when they'll open up and you'll be able to start reasoning with them about this stuff.
That's starting to happen a little bit already, Adam. We had 74, I think 74 state committee members at the meeting, at the state committee meeting after the convention, 74. And almost all of them, and I was sitting up front because I was a parliamentarian, so I could look out over the crowd. Almost all of them were in support of the current administration. Obviously not everybody, but almost all of them, were supporting the current administration. So it's already starting to happen among the state committee. And like you say, when they see that we're mobilizing and we're doing things right to work hard to get Republicans elected, a lot of these precinct delegates are going to come back as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think they have to also figure out how they're going to reach these chairs, because there's so many chairs in the first that are really kind of sharing the Bonamy message and not as much maybe some of the other things. I kind of emailed our chair and I said, you're sending out a lot of stuff from the Karamo administration. Could you send out this? And it was one of Adam's podcasts where you guys methodically went through the lawsuits. But the only thing they took away from it was that you called them the ass roots. They were so mad. I'm like, I know you're mad. I'm like, Adam makes me mad. He says things I don't want to hear. But if you could just look at the papers and read what's on them, but they didn't. There was just no discussions, and it's just frustrating.
Very good comment from Don Cruz on Facebook. When emotion comes through the door, objectivity goes out the window. And to that point, Steph, I mean, that's the thing is that they listened to it and it all went in one ear out the other. And they heard ass roots and they're like, oh, because that triggered them.
Well, they say it: corrupt, deep state, evil, and it's really easy to think you're.
I mean, I can use those words too.
Battle.
I think Karamo's a puppet of the deep state.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I think nobody wants this god awful job. It's terrible. Who would want to be chair of the Republican Party right now? I mean, it's an awful job. I mean,
it is.
It's thankless. You have no money. You're, a couple months before primary with a huge election coming. You've got all these lawsuits. I just keep making the case. Nobody wants this job. I mean, nobody in their right mind. Thank God, we found somebody to take it.
Yeah.
It's not Christina. Sorry, folks, but that's true.
It's okay. On Rumble, Sailor Sam says Trump is getting ready to speak at Mar-a-Lago. He's now speaking. Well, I would go to that, except I want to get this over with and finish off the stream. But also, there's sometimes copyright issues with streaming Fox News. I probably can't do it here. Other than that, I mean, I'm looking at the polls. Nothing else has really changed. Trump's numbers are plus 66 in Oklahoma. Looks like Alabama plus 71 is the biggest so far. And Haley is up 4 points in Vermont, but screw Vermont. Other than that, Trump way, 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 way up everywhere else, even in Massachusetts with plus 27. So, all right, let's continue on here.
Right in the middle. And when we did that, that wasn't her choice. That was the budget committee's choice. She took it for a couple months and said, "Don't pay me." We're talking a 38-year-old single mom that's out trying to save our nation. A couple weeks ago, we did give her that
There's
money
no proof
for about 10 weeks pay, because we said, you've been working and we need to give you something. She brought in $1.5 million.
That's a lie.
Support.
Yep.
Lie.
$1.5 million. That's ludicrously false. Privately false. Insane. Yeah, the Save Our Nation line. I mean, well,
I
believe it in our heart of hearts. I don't know.
There's nobody that's done that. Generally, you're getting $300,000 to $350,000 passed from the people. The people that have put the money in our party are somewhere between 12 and 20 families. DeVos, Schoenstatt, Weiser. We can go down the list, but you guys get the point. They're the ones.
It's only 3 names he knows.
Yeah.
Christina got $5,000 in her Secretary of State race out of $22 million in the pockets of the GOP.
Right done.
Matt DePerno got about 150,000. I'm sorry, he got 50,000, and then Tudor Dixon got about 150,000. That's what we spent on candidates. The rest goes to consultants. What are those consultants? Who are they?
John Yob, Stu Foster, James.
This is also extremely misleading too, by the way, folks, because when you say, "Oh, I gave $1 million to a consultant," the consultant doesn't just get to keep the $1 million. Like they spend that money on ad buys and stuff. They get a commission from it, and I mean, I'll be the first to say I think they buy more ads than they should because of that fact. But that's the way that is. I mean, that's to say that, oh, the consultants got millions and millions of dollars. No, they didn't. They're like any other broker, any other middleman in the world.
Okay.
Tell them about the building. Tell them about the building.
So
Yeah, see, there's the cheerleader. Tell them about the building. Those are coming from the cold open on Sunday.
they also left us about a little over $500,000 in debt. Thank you for that reminder. We paid the. I'm sorry. More than that.
It was for 7.
So 460 on the line of credit and 180 on credit card debt. So $640,000 in total debt. I didn't bring my notes on this, so thank you, Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer was the treasurer. Or is the treasurer.
Freudian slip.
I will tell you, last night they took Jennifer off the accounts.
Yes, gone.
They took everybody off the accounts.
Treasurer off the accounts. They were elected by state committee. So, anyways, back to the building. With that.
You want to go into that at all? That
Yeah,
argument
they left us a bunch of debt, but you know what? Weiser left us a bunch of money, and she decided to give a chunk of it to Joe Moss and For Liberty, and her salary and a bunch of other stuff. Because she wasn't raising money right out of the gate; she was living on money that Weiser left behind.
Yep.
She chose she chose to pay herself and pay Joe Moss instead of paying that line of credit down. So she did everything to herself.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as stand there for being elected the treasurer, I mean, first of all, is that even correct?
Yes, she was appointed treasurer, and then it's a rubber stamp because nobody knows who these people are. So they just elect who they're going to elect. But yes, Standifer was taken off, but you know who else was taken off? Christina Caramo and everybody that was tied to that bank account was taken off. It wasn't just her being singled out. Those accounts are frozen from everybody right now.
There you go. Joey Stevenson asked where the feed of the writers from. They said, never mind. This originally was posted on Rumble. I forget the exact. I don't have the exact link handy, but it was posted by. I think I found it on First District Republicans page or on Facebook or
Official,
something.
like official in quotation marks. You can probably find it there.
Yeah.
First District Republicans.
Yeah.
Official.
All right. Let's keep going. Oh, yeah. Okay. Nothing major in the news on the primary.
That building we didn't know what that was. It was a line of credit. So from
First of all, explain that building does not belong to the MIGOP.
I will, as I get there. I'll get there quick.
You hear that, folks? That building does not belong to the MIGOP.
She's singing our song right there.
That was the lawsuit.
They tell us
Forgot about that.
how to settle it. We start paying just the interest payments on this, and we're trying to figure out how do we settle it. First question is, what's collateral? Where's the origination documents? How is this set up? They had a $3 million line of credit raised the year before. How do you have a $3 million line of credit with nothing to back it up? So for about 6 months, we asked for paperwork. They would not give us when the money was drawn, how much it was, anything to track the expenses.
Sounds like the budget committee.
We get down this path, our attorneys meet, and we had one guy we were working back and forth with the bank, and he was pretty open with this, but he couldn't produce any records, if you call that open. The last day we met with him, one of our attorneys brought up some laws, and he went back in and he found the origination documents from 2006.
One of our attorneys. That's a funny word for Dan Hartman.
Exactly.
And the Street building, which is
He was talking about Jim Kopis.
that was on there.
Who is not an
Yeah.
attorney, by the way.
Right.
Jim Kopis, LLM, not a lawyer. Yeah.
That's collateral. So then we went, well, we were told we had to lease it, $12,000 a year, or in a month, $144,000 a year. We go through the books. Jennifer's about 80.
I know we've been over this. That property does not cost $100,000 some dollars a year either.
No, the party leases it for $1 a year, plus
And
expenses.
they got to pay like some minor maintenance fees, and that's it.
Yes.
You know,
Which
Jim
they didn't
Kopis
pay
mentioned
that either because they sublease the building to the HRCC and SRCC.
Yeah. There's other offices in there that pay those expenses. Yep.
Now, the one question, and maybe Tim can expound on this too. Jim Kopis said, I don't know, 1,000 times that there was a negative pledge on that building. But then he also said that negative pledge was never perfected, which means they took the negative pledge and then never made it an active negative pledge. So is that building really used as collateral if they never perfected the negative pledge? So
I think that's probably not. I mean, that negative pledge, I mean, it can also just mean that, hey, we're not going to take out another mortgage on this place. We're not going to use it for collateral anywhere else. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was used as collateral for this loan. Just a guarantee that you're not going to use it for collateral anywhere else. So if they never perfected it, it could be that it was never actually established as collateral for the loan. Just that they only got to the point where the trust or whoever, guaranteed that they wouldn't use that building, for collateral anywhere else.
Interesting. All right, let's we're most of the way through this now. Let's keep going.
$1,000 the year before spent on the Seymour Street building. That was including lawn care, maintenance on parking lots, everything we paid for. As our treasurer digs deeper,
Oh yeah, that's a lot of money by the way.
listed as an asset
Lawn care.
of ours since it was purchased. So this gets deeper. Why are we not in the building, and why is a trust running the building, and they want to lease it to us? When we own it. Now, on paperwork, it says Seymour Street LLC, and there's a bunch of lines of how things went and changed.
This is just more of the same gibberish. Christina did the same thing talking to this that news host.
yes,
We just had this lawsuit to determine who owns the building. And folks, I forget which stream it was, but we've been over this stupid lawsuit.
Yeah.
What they were doing was trying to A, get the building from the Seymour Street Trust, B, try to get the debt to Comerica Bank canceled, and C, make some kind of bizarre trademark claim on the word Republican that they could use to impose their will upon other county parties and clubs and things of that nature. That's what this trust was. That's what the suit was all about. That's exactly what all the documents filed by the defendants went straight to, because they knew exactly what this was all about. And now, unfortunately, that lawsuit's not going to be ever taken up again because it's going to get dismissed. So, all right, here we go.
Street LLC operates and has the DBA as Michigan Republican Party. The bank loan's Michigan Republican Party. Whose loan is it? We just paid a whole lot of interest for a long time. So as we start trying to dig into it, we ask for paperwork on that. Of course, they don't give it to us. That's why we filed the suit on the building. We were going, who owns it? Because if we don't own it,
You filed the suit to steal the building.
and the loan was taken out by the same guy that represented us, that represented
So you could
the
sell it.
trust. The same attorney firm represented.
Because you want to destroy the party. Oh, hold on. He's talking about something else. He's talking about, I think he's going to water back now.
And the debt's on it, and the loan was taken out by the same guy that represented us, that represented the trust. The same attorney firm represented both. Nope, it wasn't.
Point of order, when was the lawsuit filed? December 8th?
I'm not.
Point of order. When was the lawsuit filed? Want to go back to parliamentarian school there, Randy?
Randy Bishop, who says he teaches parliamentary procedure, and that's not a point of order, first of all. And in a minute here, he totally breaks down any impartiality that he might have had. Who, as a parliamentarian, you have to remain impartial. Why? Which is why you, if you're a voting member, you can't even vote on issues unless it's a secret ballot issue as a parliamentarian. So he violates several basic rules of not only parliamentary procedure but duties of a parliamentarian in this video.
They haven't used parliamentary procedure up to now. Why would you start?
No, because the motion that's on the floor, everything that we've been listening to is out of order.
Oh, okay. Great. I'm really not an expert, and this is more confusing.
Remember that motion that was just vote?
Yeah, we started the video off with a motion, and then this has gone into just let Dan Bonamy yammer on for 20 minutes.
And that other lady can yell stuff out. Yeah, I get it. Okay, perfect.
It's the discussion portion.
Yeah.
Point of order. Point of information. Is Tricka Randy convicted felon for fraud?
Right.
Which is like lying. Just ask him. All right, let's let this guy continue.
Sure on that, Randy. I'm somewhere in there. So these are all factors that.
Actually, before you continue, I just want to mention that also. You notice people from the audience. You hear what they were doing when they were going Warner Norcross, because they've been fed this bullshit from Christina and these other people, and they go right to it. And then Bonamy's like, actually, no, it's somebody else. But it's an attorney for, get this, you would never believe this. The attorney for the state party is also the attorney for the state party trust. What a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. All right, here we go.
Christina has brought up to show the corruption that's within. We have computers that were ordered around the first of the year. We have all kinds of things. None of that was handed over to her. Emails, contact lists, all the stuff that they spent millions of dollars every year to get for us, that's an asset of ours, none of it was handed over. We took months just to get access to the accounts because they wouldn't give us access to the accounts.
I'm skeptical about all these allegations. I'm also skeptical that the party actually really had much worth all that much. But but
we had access to the accounts if we'd have gotten a car and driven to the bank. We didn't have logins. That's true. We didn't have logins for a while, and that's why they kept saying they couldn't give us any information because we don't have access to the accounts. But they were writing checks. So they obviously had access to the accounts. They just didn't have the online access and didn't bother to get their butt in a car and go down to the local branch and print out statements for the budget committee.
Yeah, and I would also say this. When my county executive committee took office at the beginning of this term, we had our data /IT guy walk away and take our list with him. And the reason we didn't go after him is because it was going to be more trouble than it's worth. But if I was a state party, I'd have sued his ass. So if there was any validity to this, why didn't they?
Yeah, well, but part of this too, and this, where I'm going to take a little bit of a softer stance. I don't think the Weiser administration did her any favors. I don't, and that's fine. And DePerno didn't do her any favors going on Fox 2 News right away, but she grabbed that and held on to it for a year. The victim mentality. She was always a victim. She always blamed everybody else. Yes, April, May, June, you were struggling. But July, August, September, October, November, December, she never changed. She kept playing the victim. And it got old and it got tiring and I got tired of it. So here we are.
I just think as a grassroots person too, I mean, nothing's going to be easy. Nothing's going to be handed to you. And if you're not prepared and you don't have a plan going in and you're not anticipating what someone who might be in opposition to you is doing, you're not going to be successful. And I mean, that sucks and it's not fair. But like Todd said, to just keep rehashing it and never be able to get out from under that. I mean, I don't wake up in the morning and go, I think I'm going to be U.S. Senator. I might, just try something, develop your leadership skills at a local level, move up through the ranks, get those battle scars, and then take this juggernaut on and be successful. I just don't get it. I'm just confused.
Yeah.
You just have to be better. Nobody's going to be like, oh, hey, great Liberty person, here's everything you need in $1 million. It's just not like that. It's not like that locally. It's not going to be like that statewide. It's not going to be like that nationally. Just, we got to deal with it.
Yeah. Her whole promise was people will just open our wallets for
Yeah.
us. We'll get thousands and thousands of business owners writing us $1,000 checks.
Yeah.
It's like as if the state party would have never thought of doing that ever before. And you know, and anyway, go ahead.
If you're running for state chair, and I've never done this, and I probably never will, but I would assume that if I was running for state chair and I was serious, that I would have at least $250,000 in donations lined up for the moment I won.
Yeah.
To handle all that crap right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when Weiser has taken office, which has been, I think, 3 non-consecutive terms now, he just pays off of the debt like right from the get-go. Because you're supposed to have debt at the end of the campaign season because you want to spend every money you possibly can to win the races. Something that's lost on Christina. On Rumble, Crippling Fungus says, sorry I'm streaming late. On his question, I'm sure you've covered already, but where does Sue Aller get the power to assign proxies for someone else? The state party
the bylaws.
Screams. If you don't show up and you don't send someone to show up in your place, then someone else gets to assign a proxy for you because you were elected to do a job and you're not doing it.
Yep. And it doesn't matter if you say, I don't want anybody to be my proxy. That doesn't matter. The only way you can make sure that one's not assigned for you is you assign one yourself or you show up at the meeting. If you're not there and you haven't submitted proxy on your behalf, then yes, the district chair has every right within the bylaws. And even more, if the district chair isn't there, any members of the district state party members that are there can then assign proxies.
Yeah. Also, Former Sam says Trump's speech was very much a presidential campaign speech. I don't think he ever mentioned Haley. Speech contrasted his wins with Biden's failures. Side note, there was no alcohol served. Yes, after this stream is over, you guys should go check out the Trump speech. I'm sure it's on Red Set Broadcasting and elsewhere.
Yeah, he's clearly looking at November already and starting his general election.
The sooner he starts to pivot, the better, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely.
I wish he'd remained in that state after he got elected president the last time. I think he would have done better in 2020, but that's, well, anyway. No more Monday morning quarterback, and let's let this play out now.
That's what she's dealt with. So this shows me that every bit of it is the big money, launders it through, and this is my personal opinion, I'm not making a claim here. But it looks to me as they launder money through it, and it went in and out, and that's the only aspect that they want control of our party for.
It's the weasel way of, I'm not defaming him, I'm just saying it looks to me like money laundering.
That's the only time I've heard Dan say that's his personal opinion. He uses those words a lot.
To the trust are all of the former chairs of the Michigan Republican Party. But the Michigan Republican Party does not own the building and did not take out the loan, and they're trying to steal the money from the Michigan Republican Party that you sent to them to steal to pay their own debt. Because that is Ron Weiser's baby, and he is trying to steal from us. And that's why
this is such an amazingly inverted perception of reality that they're claiming that Ron Weiser is stealing money from us. Not the other way around. We're not looting the NRCC's donations. We're not taking the money from the donors to give Christina a salary to pay off her consultants. Not that there's anything wrong with paying consultants when they need to be paid, but since they're the ones making that accusation, when the reality is these people didn't give the state party millions of dollars. Ron Weiser did, and got no thanks for any of it. It's unbelievable. And the idea, so they're trying to, this is so bizarre. Like, okay, so they're like, this trust owns the building, and we have a line of credit that we owe money to Comerica Bank for. Let's try to sue Comerica to get us so we don't have to pay the loan back, and maybe we'll even get to sell the building and pocket that money. And then this woman takes that as they're stealing money from us. What?
Yeah.
It's so backwards. Yeah, Holly makes the point. How dare she make me defend Ron Weiser?
I think you should have Holly on. She's funny.
I don't mind defending Ron Weiser. I would have never imagined myself defending Pete Hoekstra. But just got to call the plays as you see them. So,
that's right.
Let's continue. We're almost done.
Christina is not here today.
Amen.
That's what the declaratory relief, or that's what the suit was to declare who was the owner, who had the debt, That's why the bank was named in it. That's why the trust was named in it. Which guess who's a trustee? Ron Romney. As soon as she got named in that trust, guess what? RNC attorneys came and started working with Warren Carpenter in that group. Guess who just ruled in a 10-minute hearing? They gave us 1,000 words in 10 minutes to talk, to decide who the chair was, and decide whether that meeting was done properly. State committee member, I still have not gotten the minutes from what they claim to be a meeting on January 6th or on January 20th. They will not give me the information.
Well, we haven't gotten minutes from the January 13th meeting that they called.
Oh, no kidding. They never sent you the minutes, Tim?
Never seen them. And that was a meeting that I got removed from their state committee, and they haven't sent me the minutes to verify that. I mean, I was watching it, but I don't have a copy of the minutes, and I've never been notified that I was removed from their state committee.
Wow.
It's with your cease and desist order, Tim.
Oh, yeah, they're probably in the hands of the same process server who can't find my house for a month and a half.
Well, and this goes to Christina's BS in that same interview too with the reporter. This notion that they didn't get a fair trial because they chose not to call witnesses, even though they took most of the time in the hearings on all 3 days. They spent more time cross-examining the plaintiff's witnesses, and they spent more time direct examining their own witnesses that they got in the third day after they didn't call any the first time.
At the end of the second day, they said they weren't calling any witnesses, and then the judge found another half a day and gave both sides an opportunity to call a couple more witnesses. Then they decided, maybe we better try something here because we're losing this thing. And so they did have
witnesses again.
Angela Gillespie and Jennifer
Dan Hartman.
Dan Hartman, who was bloviating the whole time and questioning the attorney that was questioning him and pontificating to the judge. It was, totally bizarre. I'm surprised that the judge let him go on like he did.
Yeah, I mean, they spent hours just arguing with Ann Delisle on cross over legal issues that she was not an expert witness on, and just to browbeat her. And the judge put up with it for a long time. I think just because so that it'd be all the more appeal proof when they tried to make that move too. Which, by the way, it's funny because they've attacked the court, they've attacked the judge, they've attacked the attorneys, they've attacked obviously the plaintiffs. I mentioned the other day the appeals judge who signed the order denying their appeal was Brock Schwartzel, who was at one point the Republican State House Chief of Staff. I'm surprised they haven't made an issue out of that. How dare this appeals judge not recuse himself and blah 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 blah. But that's probably coming one of these days.
Probably.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
They won't even tell me who's there. When I asked who was proxies, they says none of your business.
Right.
How can we operate when we don't know what's going on with the people that were elected by you to be down there?
Can the delegates back up the trust? Point of order. Can the delegates?
I just love how parliamentary procedure comes up.
I know. Point of order.
Kind of like how I run a parliamentary meeting.
I had a meeting once where they said point of questioning or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, let me rewind a second so we can hear what her question was.
Well,
That is their first objection. Because we know the first thing they're going to do is dismiss the lawsuit.
Well,
that is their first objection.
there has been a motion to freeze that lawsuit because now the same person that's representing the Republican Party represents the trust again. Thank you.
That's also false, by the way, because Mike Bishop is the general counsel for the state party.
That's right.
And I believe Eric Doster is still the counsel for the trust, but whatever.
So,
Adam, do not let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah.
The $263,000 check is to how they were instructing you guys to spend it.
so the $263,000
here we go,
check
yeah.
from the NRCC.
By the way, George says it's coming out that you told them. I told them the other day. That's my point. They're behind the narrative here.
We were instructed to give that to Congressman Barrett.
See, again, here's where they're using little linguistic techniques to lie. We were instructed to give that money to Tom Barrett. Instructed? How so? I mean, you were politely suggested? Is that what you mean? Because those two terms mean very different things.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the NRCC knows how to follow the law. I doubt you do, Dan.
No.
That was a bunch of $10,000 donations to the McCarthy PAC. To me, it really looks like they're buying the votes for a congressman.
They are.
And then punching it through and telling us where to give them the money.
This is all bullshit. But think about this also, because they're building a narrative against Tom Barrett.
So we need further investigation on this. Where do you go? Congressional hearing when you're paying off congressmen?
Right.
So,
Notice all the congressmen that are here today.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So,
Here goes Randy's impartiality right here.
Instruction came
Yeah,
from
they're not going to go. They're not going to attack Jack Bergman. But
Yep.
think about this, folks. I mean, they're because what they're doing is they're narrative crafting for their own benefit, but they're also casually also throwing Tom Barrett under the bus, who, served with honor in the U.S. military, served with honor in the state house, would be and I think the Senate too, be an absolutely outstanding candidate for maybe not the state Senate, absolutely outstanding candidate for Congress. I certainly hope he makes it. I would support him absolutely. He was one of the most conservative members of the House. Randy might actually even know that, but they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about Tom Barrett. They care about their narrative more. Sorry for the vulgarity,
sad
folks.
because you looked at all the FCC filings and it was like WinRed $25, WinRed $35 from people all over the country. And they really expected that money to go to congressional candidates in Michigan. And it's just embarrassing to me in a way that it's not,
Yeah.
I mean, some of these people I really don't want to see reelected, but whatever. We're kind of in a position where we need to defeat Democrats,
Yeah, I mean, look,
quickly.
If you don't want the NRCC if you don't want the NRCC supporting John James or the NRSC supporting Mike Rogers, guess what, folks? Don't give the NRSC or NRCC your money. Give them to Tom Barrett directly.
Yes.
Give them to Donald Trump's campaign directly. There is alternatives. The people who gave that money to the NRCC did it because they got some piece of paper in the mail from the NRCC or something on the internet, and they said, you know what, I'm going to give these people my money, as is their right. Absolutely. And the NRCC gave that money to the state party, hoping they would spend the money in the way that you would expect a party to spend the money, namely helping the candidates in those districts. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. But let's finish this off now. We're almost to the end.
the outgoing speaker, Kevin McCarthy, right before he left in October.
Yep.
Do you know who one of the major advisors were to him for the state of Michigan? Congressman Jack Berger. This is the truth, folks.
Yep.
And we also know that the NRCC paid the lawyer firm for Warner, Norcross, and Judd that put the attorney in Rossi's courtroom that ruled against us. Jack Bergman and Kevin McCarthy paid the lawyers to take out Christina Caramo and Dan. I'm
Both
saying
those claims aren't
I'm yelling at
falsifiable.
the party. I am, personally. So if anybody's recording this, sir, please share this with Congressman Jack Bergman and Kevin McCarthy and say Randy Bishop said it.
There's a camera right behind you, Randy.
All right, that's the end. That's the video. It ends with Randy Bishop defaming Jack Bergman. You know what, Randy? I think Bergman probably will hear about this. Now he may decide that it's simply just not worth his trouble to go after you for defamation, because, I mean, first of all, are you even going to be able to get a judgment out of you? Probably not, but I don't know. Whatever. So all right, guys. Unfortunately, we did not get Matt Wilk on tonight because I know he had a long list of things to talk about relating to that clip. So I guess maybe his planning commission meeting went late tonight. We will close our stream with an update